From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, California congressional candidate Joe Collins. With Gina Grad on news, Bald Bryan on sound effects, and Dave Dameshek's here for good sports. And now, today's intro joke has not been cleared by the problematic comedy approval board. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but to get on. Mandate you get it on, man. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing with a friend. Good day, Gina Grad.
Good day to you.
And Bald Bryan.
Cool.
All right, we're going to get a health update from Bald Bryan coming up in a couple of moments. Joe Collins will come in here at some point or Zoom in here. He's running against Maxine Waters.
Oh, no.
I was thinking about it. I said, I don't even know anything about Joe Collins other than if you told me a pine cone was running against Maxine Waters, I would just vote for the fucking pine cone. Sure. So that's, he's already got my endorsement. But he's a Navy guy. He's a 13-year Navy veteran. And starting to find myself, I was talking to Dr. Drew about this, starting to find myself being attracted to talking to pilots and helicopter pilots and guys who fix jet engines and stuff, because there's a kind of a math and a precision in their world that we've kind of lost. We've come unmoored from reality
in a world of alternative facts that don't really exist in their world.
No, it's just imagine you maintain F-16 Hornets that fly off of carrier jets. There's no feeling involved. There's no what you know in your heart involved. It's all just that shit's got to work all the time, every component.
But what if he needs to step into his truth? Does he do that on his own time?
Yeah, because you launch it off the carrier deck and the F-18 steps into the ocean, which is its truth.
USS Truth.
I was sitting around last night. I kept getting these texts or emails from Nate because Sean Penn had tweeted out about Uppity, and then next thing you know, Uppity was on the Netflix recommendation pile or whatever that is. And I thought, good, timely. I'm proud of the film. I want people to see it, and blah blah blah. And then of course, that gratitude and happiness quickly turned to anger, because I was like, everyone loves this film. Why wasn't it accepted anywhere to any film festival of any kind? And I just got done talking to Nate, and Nate's like, we submitted it to every film festival. And I mean, Sundance and Tribeca, South by Southwest, Newport, Palm Springs, Hot Docs. They submitted it to every film festival, and it was denied or not accepted. Every film festival, or 20, and all the ones you've ever heard of.
I don't know anything about this process, but it almost makes me think, I wonder if they even bothered to watch it. Because if you watch this particular documentary, it doesn't not get accepted. Well, the subject matter is incredible. The story is compelling. It's where we are. It's a triumphant story of this man who's still very much alive and well. It's like, did you bother to watch it?
I'd say probably not, but yeah.
I'm very good friends with someone who was a screener for I'll just say it, Sundance. His job was to watch the movie and make recommendations. It was like coverage for a script, right?
Right.
And let's just say that this man who loves movies didn't pay super close attention to every single movie that came across his plate.
Yeah, how could you really?
You could, yeah.
And at some point, you see the name, the Duplass brothers on it, and you go, okay, I'll watch this. And then you see Brillo Head Carolla on it, and you go, fuck that guy. And you don't watch it. But then I thought, all right, but how do we know? I liked it. Sean Penn seemed to like it, but I went and looked. I went to my IMDb and I said, oh, what's it doing on IMDb? What's its IMDb score? It starts with an 8. A very rarefied
Hey.
8 on IMDb. It's 8.1 on IMDb, and the median is a 9. So its median average is a 9, and it's 98% with the audience on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not being reviewed by critics, so there's no critic reviews, but the audience has it at 98%. And then I went and looked at every other doc that won the Academy Award for the last 5 years, and which are great docs. Don't get me wrong, but there's a couple that are free solos, an 8.2 with a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. None of them scores high on Rotten Tomatoes, and most of them start with a 7. OJ Made in America has an 8.9 on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, sorry, on IMDb. But if you look at the scores on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes and you add them up, Uppity is better. And those are ones that won the Academy Award. Forget being nominated, forget being accepted to Tribeca or Sundance. So that is the world we're living in, people. And that's why people make business decisions. When Mark Duplass writes a Twitter saying Ben Shapiro's a decent enough fella and then takes it back, he's taking it back because he's making a business decision because he wants to get into Tribeca. That's an important business decision for him. When Drew Brees takes his I stand for the flag tweet back, he's making a business decision the same way he's making a business decision when he does a hook slide in the open field. It's a business decision.
He's running out of bounds.
Right.
I guess you could say on the other side of the coin, Colin Kaepernick made a business decision by kneeling when that was not the thing to do.
There's a lot of business decisions being made. Well, I don't know. You know, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, there's good and bad business.
Yeah, knowing that might hurt his business.
Either way, people are making business decisions because forces outside of the group who would normally watch the docs or get you on the New York Times bestseller list, they're starting to be polluted with sort of political things. And so people are having to figure that out. Since it's something that's random, you know, you know, Sundance sees, 1,000 entries for documentaries. They got to pick 25 of them. So it's a pretty random process. Why not be on the right side of the business decision? But that is where we're going. And I'm not a fan of it because personally, I like the meritocracy part of life where may the best doc win or may the best quarterback win. That's where I'm coming from. But anyway, I will get into on Monday's show the New York Times bestseller list. But let's just say Mike Lynch is drunk and despondent. The last email I got from him. So I'll tell you how
he
that
spelled angry wrong.
He was so angry.
Yeah.
Well, he said he was drunk first.
Yeah,
right?
I said I'm drunk and I'm angry, and there's no E in angry.
Right. So
And cry.
he's realizing that many books that did not sell as many units as our book are on the list that have to do with different subject matters that are a little more popular.
But talk about math. Bestseller means best seller.
Yeah.
Most sold.
It's a proprietary secret herbs and spices kind of
That
thing.
doesn't make any. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not bestseller. It's a combination of sales and what they would like to see on their list.
Interesting.
It's a very interesting combination.
Ooh, it's like Common Core.
Which I would. Here's the downside to that. You're kind of diluting your own brand. Now it's like, oh, I get it. This person isn't on. What does it mean? It's a slippery slope because you're kind of hurting your own brand by factoring in too many editorializing versus just counting units and putting it up there. But I'll follow up with that on Monday's show.
Poor Lynch.
All right.
I assume there's a bonus involved that's not getting paid out.
Oh no.
Well, I don't know. It's just, I think when you spend a lot of time and you write a book and you get all the numbers back for the book and you see you've outsold 5 books that made the list, and you didn't, I don't think that feels good artistically. You know what I mean? And also, I think everyone would like to say New York Times bestseller. Like, you'd like to say it.
Of course.
And you sold enough units to say it.
I lead every fucking conversation with that.
Right. So, I was talking to Sonny about it over dinner, and he's like, "Oh, you made it 3 times." And I said, "Yep." And he said, "Well, that's still pretty good." And I said, "Yeah, it is. Thank you for that." But I don't know. It's like now we're in some weird world where guys like Mike Lynch are upset because the New York Times has taken a bunch of woke books and putting them ahead of our book. And you know, unfortunately, in the past, you just kind of take them at their word. You know, now there's a bunch of digital data that's like, here's what Amazon did, and here's what Bookseller Week did. And you just you start getting raw data and numbers, and you're like, what? And that's where we're at now.
Well, that's on you, because on the cover of the book, I'm your emotional support animal. Okay. Could be legitimate self-help for the yentas out there. Oh, no, it says all woke, no joke. How could we put our stamp on that?
I know. Anyway, welcome to the New World Order, everybody. But I do appreciate you guys buying the book, because in the end, that's kind of all we have now. It's just you and me and us, and the New York Times and the Tribecas and the Sundances. Those may be a thing of the past, at least for us. All right, Brian, health update.
Yeah, I alluded to it a couple of days ago. So the good news is that my insurance approved my doctor's request to put me on a new medication, not new, but a newish medication called Stivarga. Stivarga is a blood vessel inhibitor, much like Avastin was, and it's I'm gonna get it wrong. Angiogenesis. It basically prevents the growth of blood cells, which feed tumors. So that's the idea. And you may be asking yourself, well, why don't you go back on Avastin? Well, my doctor said your activity at this point is so small that the Avastin might not recognize it. You know what I mean? It might not attack it correctly, whereas the Stivarga is a little more aggressive. And boy, is it ever, because the first day that I took it, I stopped taking my chemo, which I've been taking for 6 months. Started taking the Stivarga. I had a instant jolt of energy, which is awesome. It was just like when I took Avastin for the first time. I had this renewed energy. But on chemo, I was like done by like 4 p.m. I couldn't, when the show ended, I was out of gas. And luckily, I felt this surge of energy and this sort of jolt. So that's really good news. It'll help more with Tessa, obviously. And the first night I took it, I had cramps like in my legs, like I did with Avastin. So I'm like, oh, this is going to work kind of the same way. This is great. Unfortunately, there are myriad side effects, and they are fucking brutal. My blood pressure spiked immediately, and hypertension is a side effect. And luckily, that's kind of tapered off a little bit. It's gone down to a normal level. As you can probably tell, I have a hoarse, raspy voice. And that is a side effect. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. Sometimes it's worse by the end of the night. My throat is like swollen, and I have this raspy voice. What else is going on here? Oh, yeah, my tongue is like tender. Like I can't eat spicy food. I can't even use my mouthwash anymore. I had to stop using my mouthwash because it had alcohol in it. It would like burn my tongue. I get these stomach cramps almost, I wouldn't say constantly, but regularly. Like it's constantly going off, like just crampy stomach.
I can relate.
And unfortunately, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but in the last literally 36 hours, I've developed this horrible rash on my head.
I
can't really. Which is
The
good.
light's shining from outside, so it's shining right on it. But there is maybe on the other side.
I don't see it.
Not really.
Well, if you were here, Christy can attest. It is a horrible rash, and it's very uncomfortable. And
Does it itch? Like, are you trying to?
No,
scratch?
it doesn't itch, but it is like constantly painful.
Inflamed. Yeah.
Inflamed. Yeah, it sucks. And so I'm hoping that all of these side effects are proof that it's working. And I'm hoping that these side effects are. I talked to my doctor yesterday and said, "Hey, man, there's a lot of side effects going." going on here? Is that normal? And he's like, yeah, most of what you're describing is pretty normal. Ideally, it'll taper off, come on strong at first and it'll taper off. But the overall good news is I'm on this new medication. I've been approved for it. Insurance is paying for it. And despite the fact that the side effects are pretty gnarly and they're coming on pretty strong, I am very optimistic for a positive effect.
When do you go back for another MRI to see what it's doing?
MRI is,
or whatever they do to see if it's working.
I'm going to check in with the doctor next week, just like a one-on-one, just so we can see how I'm doing. But the actual MRI will be the beginning of August.
All right.
So I'll have an update then.
Yeah, beginning of August is what the hell?
That's 2 months from when I started.
Yeah, which is I'm having trouble with dates. I think it was this whole weird stay-at-home and shelter thing. I've lost.
Nobody knows what date is.
Well, I think I used to treat dates like days of the week, like certain things were done on certain dates and they meant something, and I was always looking at a calendar about when I'm going out of town and stuff like that. And since that stopped, I've just gotten all fucking screwed up. All right, good for now, and we'll know at the beginning of August when we get the next MRI.
Indeed.
All right, all right, so let's make Adam jealous. Brought to you by Tommy John, and let's try Matthew here. Matthew, 35 from Texas.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love you guys. So my dad was never really around, so I was raised by my grandpa. So I do stuff for him for Father's Day instead.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a real manly man, lives in Louisiana, works on trucks and cars and vehicles his entire life, has his own little farm, so growing up, I was always kind of scrawny and nerdy and really, really looked up to this guy. So for Father's Day, I'm a trucker now, and so I travel the country all over the place, and it's interesting to see how I've almost become like a younger version of him as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
And I look like him, and younger pictures of him look just like me, and our tastes have almost perfectly aligned for foods and stuff that I used to not like. And so I pick up stuff from all over the country, and I'll make a little basket for him for Father's Day, and just give him a whole bunch of goodies, and we'll just kind of sit around and try different things and talk and kind of catch up on stuff.
Give us examples of what you pick up when you're traveling the highways and the byways.
Okay, so things that he likes pickled stuff. So I'll get pickled beets. I've really come to like. He enjoys those as well. Different ones taste different too. Pickled garlic, dilled. They have dilled cheese curds, which is really a weird taste. It tastes like pickle flavored cheese, I guess.
Yes, and
I've got I've got what was it? The cactus fruit honey based in cactus fruits, because he does a lot of honey on toast and biscuits and gravy and biscuits and honey, and my grandma makes homemade jelly and all that sort of stuff. So
is your grandpa pregnant?
Just kind of sit around.
Pickled ice cream.
I mean, he's all sorts of stuff like that. Different kinds of candies, different travel centers, and
hey, Matthew,
the Amish.
Amish. What is your route? How much ground do you cover? You're not driving a local route, right?
No. I drive an average of 660 miles a day.
Ooh.
In a semi truck?
Yes, sir.
Wow. So an 18-wheeler, and you're going over 600 miles a day.
Yeah. A lot of the times we'll go California to New Jersey.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
Matthew sounds like Bubba from Forrest Gump. Popcorn, shrimp scampi.
Pickled herring, pickled eggs.
It's great getting to see the country and then see foods and snacks and stuff, treats and stuff that are local to different places.
Yeah, I love it.
I pick up a lot
Matthew, you sound like you weigh 800 pounds, because you sit all day in a semi-truck and think about food. Are you a big man?
Not at all.
Wow.
I've gained a little bit, but I'm still only 220.
Are you sleeping in your cab?
Yes, I have a co-driver, so we have a bunk bed in our truck, and we have a fridge and cabinets and all that sort of stuff in the truck.
What must go on?
A young Bald Bryan.
I would say what must go on there.
Yeah. And you get along well with your co-driver?
Never really have to talk to him except for when we're swapping shifts. So it's great.
So you can literally, that truck never stops moving. I mean, it's literally you sleep.
Except for when, yeah, just whenever we get fuel and when we swap shifts.
How long can you run continuously without fueling?
Probably at least a day, at least 24 hours.
So you can get from California
we'll get
to
like 10, 11 miles per gallon.
You get from California to New Jersey in how long?
It'll take about 2.5 days.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. All right, I'm going to send you out some Tommy John, Matthew, though I don't know where to send it. It's somewhere between California and Camden.
The Flying J in Phoenix.
I have a place that I get all my stuff sent to, and I get maybe a weekend off a month that I'll swing by and grab my stuff.
And are you making six figures driving a truck?
Not six figures, but it's pretty good money. I mean, averaging like $1,000 to $1,200 a week.
Wait a minute, you should make more than that, shouldn't you? I feel like you should get paid more than that.
That's after taxes. That's
after.
taxes,
Oh, okay, after taxes. Yeah. All right. So, what are you making a year before? We're doing a math here, but you making like 80 grand a year, something like that?
I don't know. I pay someone else to do my taxes, and I just try to enjoy myself while I'm out here. So,
Good.
I mean,
yeah. All right.
This guy's a poet.
That stuff.
Yeah, I like that he's zen.
Yeah, I like him.
Hey, Matthew, can you sleep
Yeah.
when you do finally get back to your home base? Do you have difficulty sleeping without that sort of rocking and diesel vibration that you're so used to?
It is hard. It is harder because it's weird. I'm sure you can attest. Like, there's times where if it's too quiet or something like that, you'll wake up and be like, all right, something's wrong.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, whenever the truck stops, I wake up and I'm like, okay, what's going on? Am I swapping shifts? Are we getting fuel? What's going on? Like, why is it quiet all of a sudden? And it's like the same thing at home, but it's like always quiet. So
thanks, Matthew. I think they have. You can get all sorts of stuff for your mattress now. You could probably get a little vibrating thing or something that just did like, just if you're used to that. My parents, way back in the day, I wouldn't go to bed and they'd put me in the back of a VW Bug and they'd just drive around in a circle and I would immediately fall asleep. All right, let's see. Sergio, 60, Orange County. Sergio.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Good, man.
Gina.
What'd you do on Father's Day?
Doing all right. So Father's Day, wife got me up. We went to Laguna Beach, had a nice little walk on the beach, and then got me my favorite cup of coffee. And when we get home, I've got a 25-year-old and a 13-year-old. Don't ask.
Yeah.
Both had 13-year-old made pancakes from scratch, and the 25-year-old made biscuits and gravy from scratch.
Ooh la la.
So we had that, and then sat down and watched our favorite movie, Outlaw Josie Wales. My favorite movie, Outlaw Josie Wales.
Speaking of Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Really? Does that
day.
movie hold up, The Outlaw Josie Wales?
Yeah, I dig it. I think it's one of the best Westerns ever made.
And that's a spaghetti Western, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's not a
don't think
spaghetti
so.
Western. Oh, no. It was made probably after that whole
After
episode
that,
in Clint's life, but not too far after. Must have
I think he's got the new horse in that one. So
done the spaghetti Westerns and then came over and did The Outlaw Josie Wales. What year is that?
76.
So, yeah, must have.
Oh, directed by Clint Eastwood.
Oh.
That's why he likes it.
Now,
so good.
does anyone else in your family, will they sit with you and watch you eat biscuits and watch The Outlaw Josie Wales?
they all sat there and ate them with me. So they kind of tried to get halfway through the movie, and I made them come back.
Yeah. This thing, I mean, all right, we're going to send you out some Tommy John too, Sergio. Thanks. This thing, when I was a kid, you were just captive. You know what I mean? Like if my parents went to listen to something or watch something or go somewhere, you just had to like sit there. There was no getting up and leaving, you know. My son got 35 minutes into Master and Commander and decided it wasn't for him and just got up and left. Like that wasn't on the table. Do you guys remember all the horrible like errands you would run with your parents. Like we're at the DMV, sit over there. I got to wait in line. There's a book on transmissions, automatic versus manual shift. You can look at that, you know, the weird appointments. Like it was always like some appointment or somewhere they were going or they had to get something done. And it's like, you sit there.
That's why
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I don't do scavenger hunts. And I've never done scavenger hunts. I had an ass full of somebody else's errands when I was a kid. I'm not running errands as a game. I hate that stuff.
The places smelled weird.
Yep.
The tile was weird. There was always that fiberglass formed chair that was sort of connected to 5 of them in the corners. Like, you wait there. I got to go in and do this over here. I don't know.
It always had gum stuck to it.
But what was the premise? Oh, they couldn't afford a babysitter, or you were 9, so they wouldn't leave you at home. So like dad was at work, so you're just going with them. Is that?
Yeah. I remember like going to the dentist from my mom's dentist appointments, and I just have to sit out there for 45 minutes or an hour and just look at whatever magazines they had.
Yeah.
Right. And my kids don't go anywhere that don't want to go now. It seems weird. I don't know why there's seemed like to be a different set of rules we're playing by or something. But I remember going to even like the occasional party with all the adults, and I didn't want to. They're all weird, and I didn't want to hang out with them, and just sort of standing around, going into the kids' room who wasn't there, but maybe had some toys I could screw around with. It's a weird world.
When
Chris,
you talk about
you went with your mom to work every day?
That's right. She would take me to work, and I would just wait in the car till right before school started, and I'd walk from her work to school, which is about half a mile.
Oh.
Jesus Christ! I could imagine what that pitch would sound like. Like, I'm going to take Sonny and Natalia with me to work, and then they can just walk to school because I got to get to work. It's like, Jesus Christ! I'd be arrested. All right, let me hit Tommy John here. I'm going to stay sweat-free this summer. Tommy John, summer ready by baby. Ultra breathable underwear and bras, cool cotton underwear. Men and women love this stuff. I love this stuff. I'm wearing my Tommy John. Well, I'm wearing my Tommy John underwear right now, and I'm also wearing my Tommy John T-shirt. I hop on that rowing machine. I hit it hard for half an hour every night. I work up a big-time sweat, and then the stuff just dries on me as I walk around the house. I always think, I got to change. No, it just dries on me. It's that good. Tommy John, it's the best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free. They got a guarantee. Step up to the best, and they got loungewear as well, and Zoom-ready tees and polos. Get yourself some Tommy John's, the best, right, Dawson?
For a limited time, go to TommyJohn.com/Adam and get 20% off site-wide. That's TommyJohn.com/Adam for 20% off site-wide. TommyJohn.com/Adam. See site for details.
You know, all this stuff we always talk about, like then and now with the parenting. It's funny. Everyone always kind of talks about smoking. Like, oh, my dad would drive me in a cold mornings. He'd be smoking in the car and the windows be all rolled up and everyone is horrified. But there are probably 1,000 other activities that people should be horrified to as well. Sure. Like just like, again, could you imagine just imagine Tessa just going to your dental appointments. Just sitting
alone, with random strangers coming in and out for the in the waiting room. My dad was a delivery man essentially for many years for a food manufacturing company, manufacturing and distributing, and his work vehicle was his home vehicle. It was a windowless white van, white like Chevy van, meant to transport food products, and he would take me and my brother on the regular. I mean, 5 days a week to like Little League practice and soccer practice and just, hey, sit on the wheel wells in the back and hold still.
Yeah, you just sit.
That's wildly inappropriate.
You just sit in a tin can. No
belts, exactly
no seats, no nothing. It was like literally just, I have a van that's a work van. It's just a tin can. You just sit there. There's some sort of illusion of safety, but there is no real safety whatsoever. All right, we'll talk to congressional candidate for California, Joe Collins, right after this break. Let's see. Joe Collins is joining us. He's a congressional candidate from California's 43rd District. He's on a congressional run, and that's why we're talking to him. He's running against Maxine Waters, and Maxine's area is Hawthorne, Lawndale, Gardena, Inglewood and Loma Linda out here. And you guys know Maxine Waters because she's international or sort of national face. You see her on the news a lot, talk shows. How long has she been in, Joe? Feels like forever to me.
It has been forever. I'll tell you this. She's been the congressperson in South LA whenever I was a boy, and I'm 34 years old. So that tells a lot about, how long she's been in the district.
I met her many years ago doing Bill Maher's show, Politically Incorrect. God, that must have been 99, could have been 98. And I remember having a conversation with her, and then that night I came back to do Loveline, and I saw Dr. Drew, and I said, she's crazy. She's like Aunt Esther, like she's nuts. I wasn't talking politics with her. I was talking some other issues with her, and she seemed nuts to me. I really feel like she seems legitimately crazy. She was first elected in 1976. Brian, when were you born?
78.
Wow, she's got 2 years on you. So what are your qualifications, Joe?
Well, the first qualification is that I'm actually from South LA. I was born and raised in South Central Los Angeles. And, we all know Maxine Waters is from St. Louis. Aside from that, I've seen the destruction that her type of leadership has caused on the community of South LA. Served in the military 13 and a half years. So I have tons and tons of leadership experience that I can bring to our district when it comes to problem solving. And, we need leaders. We need younger leaders. I know she's in her 80s. She's very out of touch with the district. She has a poor leadership style. And as you said, she is a little cuckoo. But we need more innovative leaders. We're in a technology age. We're constantly moving forward, and she can't keep up. And this racist rhetoric that she uses, this hate-filled rhetoric that she uses, it doesn't work in our community anymore. So we need better leaders, not just for myself, but a lot of young people stepping up to take charge of our communities.
Well, what's the plan? Because I've been out in Southern California. I grew up in North Hollywood, California, basically never left. And I didn't grow up in South Central, but of course I was always aware of it because it was, 10 miles from where I lived. What is the plan? What is your plan?
Well, my plan to win or the plan to rebuild the district?
Well, what would you do if you were in charge?
Well, the first thing I would do is we need a lot of economic development in South Central Los Angeles. But we have so many taxes. We need somebody that's going to take on Gavin Newsom and the rest of the California Democratic conglomerate to get them back in line with the federal constitution when it comes to taxes. The taxes has caused the cost of living to be tremendously high, and it's unaffordable for a lot of people. And after we get that together, then we need to incentivize companies to come back to Los Angeles and give the people who live in these communities quality jobs, not just, jobs where like minimum wage jobs or whatever this socialist leftist jobs and what they talk about, but we need quality jobs, things where people can have more money at the end of the month instead of more month at the end of their money. We also need to tackle our education program. Right now, we have a graduation rate from high school at 77%, which is pretty low. We have a college graduation rate at 22%. And our schools, I think we fall between number 47 and 49 in the entire country. So we have to tackle that education program. And as everybody know right now, the rift between the communities and law enforcement, we have to start building that trust between the law enforcement and the communities. And those are my top goals right there.
If I have you guys at number 48 in education because I didn't get a good education either growing up in SoCal. But if you fall between 47 and 49, I got you at 48.
That's pretty bad.
I like vouchers and school choice and competition in education. Also, a lot of it is not based on something I woke up with yesterday morning. I went to the LA Unified School District. It was bad when I went there in the 70s and 80s. It seems worse now. And this notion of we need better schools and more tablets and better teachers, we need some competition. That's the way I feel about it. But I don't know what your stance is on that, Joe.
I'm for school choice. Anything that adds a competitive edge, because I am an athlete. I am have been a part of the legacy of the world's greatest military who's never lost a war. So I'm all about competition. So anything that'll make our school system more competitive, I'm with. And school choice is one of those things.
What would be, and I don't know if you've taken a deep dive on this or not, but like, what is LeBron's school? Is that a charter school? Is that a magnet school? Like, I don't know what his school is, but he has a school. He started it outside of, maybe it's in Ohio somewhere, probably.
Yes,
and I don't know. I don't like all the unions. I don't like that you can never be fired. I want teachers that stay longer and work harder to get paid more. I want the ones that leave earlier and work shorter days to get paid less. Like, I want it just to be like a job, like regular jobs. Like, if you want to put in some Saturdays, you're going to get paid for it. And if you suck at your job, we'll fire you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the unions has a big hand in, where teachers go when they underperform. But, I think the principals need to have the ability to fire and hire teachers that fit the criteria of the needs of the schools. I know right now they take the underperforming teacher and they'll put them right in the inner city. So now we have inner city school teachers that are underperforming, not only on a national level, but now they're creating an environment in our school to where our students aren't getting the proper education.
So you get and I don't know how it is with the cops, but I'm starting to think, look, if you're a cop or you're a school teacher, I think you'd rather patrol or teach in Beverly Hills than you would in South Central, right? Makes sense. So at a certain point, the ones that are better, more experienced, and have more seniority are probably going to get out of there. And the ones that are newer and worse at their job might get in there. And now you have this negative cycle. Now, not only do you have tough neighborhoods and tough schools, but you have teachers and maybe cops that aren't the cream of the crop. I never even thought of that, but it does seem like a self-perpetuating situation over there. So when is the election? And this is going to sound stupid, but are you a Republican or a Democrat?
Our election is in November 3rd, and I'm definitely a Republican. It's nothing that anybody can say to make me go back to the Democratic Party. I grew up as a Democrat in South LA. My parents and grandparents were Democrats. They don't even know why. But when you look at the history of a Democratic Party, I mean, a party that enslaved Black people, created laws that keep Black people down. I couldn't go back. I don't care how much, and I hear this all the time. People say, well, the party switched. That's just like telling me, a woman coming and tell me that, hey, I used to have AIDS. Would you date me? It's like, absolutely not. Well, I don't have it anymore. It's like, well, the thought that you had it, I don't want to go there. I don't even want to be a part of that. So the fact that the Democratic Party created this atmosphere to where they enslaved Black people, hung and killed them on a regular basis, it's like, I'm cool on that.
I don't care. I mean, this is going to sound a little insensitive to a Black man, but I'm not that interested in the past. I'm very interested in the present and the future. Absolutely. And what I have learned is giving people stuff or promising them stuff doesn't work, and I don't think it's being delivered. I feel like a lot of these Democratic cities have been talking about what they're going to do for Black people for a long time, but then when you sit back and you start looking at, you crunch the numbers and you look at crime statistics and graduation and standardized testing and stuff, it's not happening. I just don't feel like it's happening. There's got to be a new direction to go here. Hopefully that's you, but you take a lot of shit for being Black and being a Republican.
No, not necessarily. I take more shit from being a Republican from the Republican Party or mainstream Republicans who feel like they have what it takes to be a Republican, and I don't fit that description. Being a Black Republican,
really?
Yeah, it's kind of tough out there.
Well, give us some examples of that.
So, when I decided to run for Congress, everybody was like, "Oh, that's great! You're a Black man from South LA. You can relate to these people." Maxine Waters destroyed the community. She doesn't do anything for anybody. And I'm like, great. Well, let me start doing things for people. And so, I've stood with the police department in solidarity. I've marched with the protesters against police brutality. I've led protests to reopen California. We've encouraged the mayor of Los Angeles to put more money back into the communities. And I guess all of these things make me a Democrat. So these are the things that I hear from them. And then in my mind, I'm like, well, you just said that nobody's taking care of our communities. We had the lockdown. We don't have great jobs. So a lot of low-income families need help. A lot of small businesses need help. A lot of our senior citizens need help. So when we incentivize the mayor to put more money back into the communities, how is that bad? Do you guys envision
another party rising up that can just cherry pick what they agree with from each side and sort of go their own direction? Because that makes the most sense. What's that?
You see Chaz up in Washington, right? That's their own party. I think they kind of cut the cake, even though the organization is terrible. I've watched that for a couple of days, but it's ridiculous. They try, but when it comes to organization, raising money and doing what it takes to actually create a party that's going to be beneficial for everybody, I don't think anybody has the time or the patience to do anything like that.
So we got November 3rd is the election. What do you think? How do you like your chances? Have you Maxine Waters not going to debate you or do anything like that, is she?
No, she avoids me like the plague, like coronavirus. I'll tell you that. But I doubt she's going to debate me. But we're doing very well in our district when it comes to being visible, with our marketing and advertising, being able to help our communities. We've been all over the place. So we're doing good. We're polling pretty good too. Our team has been running polls in the district, and everybody's ready for new leadership.
Well, what I can never figure out about someone like Maxine Waters is what is attractive about her other than she's a Democrat, I vote Democrat. Is that the equation with it?
Just the familiarity. It's been so many years.
Yeah, familiarity is one of the biggest things. But another thing is we have low voter turnout. When you look at the quality of candidates that has been able to run against Maxine Waters, I would probably choose Maxine Waters also, regardless of, the rhetoric, because we can always count on Maxine Waters to do absolutely nothing for the community. And I would rather have somebody do nothing for me and allow me to figure it out for myself than have someone who, gives us the same promises that we've already been getting.
Brian.
So you mentioned third party, Adam. Joe, you were you Republican, then you went to Green Party, then you went back to Republican? I'm only just seeing this now, so you have to explain that to me.
So what happened was I became a Republican when I was in the military back in 2004. I was getting out the military to get into politics. And when I told my dad that I was a Republican, he was like, oh, no, son, Black people does not get into politics to be Republican. You have to be Green Party. So I didn't switch my voter registration to Green Party. He switched my party affiliation for the campaign to Green Party. And I switched it back. I'm not down with the Green Party. They have very nice people. But when it comes, I'm pro-military, I'm pro-guns, and I don't want socialized healthcare. So, you create a lot of rifts with that, and that's their whole entire platform.
How you doing? How's Thanksgiving? I mean, how you doing with the family?
The family is good. They've coped with the fact that I am a Republican, and they got to vote for me. They got to tell all their friends to vote for me, because if not, then I'm not going to give presents and food on Thanksgiving. But it's a work in progress. They didn't want me to join the military. I was successful with that. They didn't want me to get into politics and be a Republican. I've been successful with that as well. It's all about, and I say this a lot of times, we get discouraged by the things people say, but we have to block out the noise, and we have to go with what our heart says and pray and listen to God and go with what he says. Because, if I had to listen to every single person that told me I would not be successful by joining the military, starting my own business, or even getting into politics, I would probably be homeless.
Were you on an aircraft carrier?
You know what? I've been on a few aircraft carriers, but I have not done a deployment on an aircraft carrier. Although I was a jet engine mechanic, we did a boots on the ground tour in Iraq. Whenever I was stationed in Oklahoma, one of the secret squadrons.
So you were working on F-18 Super Hornets and amongst others. I have a semi-obsession with military aircraft. What's your favorite military aircraft? You have one?
It would have to be the I'm Navy, so I'm gonna go with the Super Hornet. But the new Joint Strike Fighter, that's a bad aircraft.
Is that the F-22 or is that the one more recent than that?
Yeah, the F-35.
Oh, the F-35. God.
Yeah, F-35.
I'm going to go old school. I'm going to go F-4 Phantom.
F-4 Phantom, that's a good one.
That's one of the, there's certain planes and there's certain cars and there's certain designs that just look aggressive. You know what I'm saying? Like if you see a Mazda Miata, it works good, but it doesn't look mean or angry. Yeah. F-4 Phantom, you get the right picture of an F-4 Phantom and it looks angry. It looks.
Well, I'll tell you this. So I'm not a Russian agent. I'm not a Russian spy. I'm not a fan of Russia.
That's exactly what a Russian spy would
say.
That's what I've heard.
But
there's not a lot of black people in Russia, so I think I'm good. So the Su-37 Terminator, when it comes to mobility and firepower, would have to be hands down my favorite aircraft.
Is that a Russian?
It is a Russian, and the reason why is because it can do a backflip.
Really?
What? Yeah, Su-37 Terminator can do a backflip. It can stop on a drop of a dime.
Is that the one they do the Cobra move with?
Yeah, that's a bad aircraft right there.
You guys ever see the Russian pilots do the Cobra move?
No. Oh, like it stands kind of up while it goes?
Yeah. And they're not, are they done with the MiGs over there? There's no MiG designation?
I think they're still making MiGs, but it's a separate class of aircraft in the Su-37.
You know what I like about Russia? You can purchase a used MiG if you need one. Like everything's for sale over there.
Yeah.
They buy, I mean, you could buy like a MiG 22 or MiG whatever from like from Vietnam era, bring it over here, put a, Pratt & Whitney engine or something, like a more modern engine and flight controls in it, and fly your MiG at the Reno Air Show. I think they even have a class at the Reno Air Show, the MiGs. Or you know better than I do, I guess, Joe. We'll try to find that Cobra move. We're looking at your favorite Russian aircraft right now. There it is.
Yeah,
wow.
Like doing a wheelie in the air.
Yeah, the brakes.
I'd definitely go up with the Blue Angels, but I don't know about the drunken MiG pilots. Like I'd be a little freaked out climbing in that thing when the guy did we just saw him do a full Cobra move. So he's flying level flight, pops the nose up, pulls a wheelie basically, and kicks the rear end out further than the front end, like a wheelie that went past your center of gravity, past the
backflip.
What is besides looking super cool, what is the point of that?
Getting laid.
Is there
maneuverability?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You're just
it's for dogs.
And getting laid.
Nobody dogs fights anymore.
Yeah, it's all just done through. Well, you pump for the Top Gun?
I'm not sure yet. I'm still trying to take it all in.
All right, so let me say this. I don't know that much about military aircraft, but I do know a lot about carpentry. And if they ever make a movie where the guy's a carpenter, it always bumps me because there's stuff he's not doing right.
Yeah.
Can you watch Top Gun and not be bumped?
You know what? I've had a lot of experience with pilots. Mike Garcia just got elected into Congress down here, and he was my pilot whenever he was going through his training at VFA 122. So I know the shenanigans and the training that comes along with pilots, and we just shake our heads and don't question anything that they have to say.
When you say your pilot, like you're assigned to his aircraft or he's assigned to your aircraft?
Yeah, he's assigned to my aircraft.
Do they assign you one aircraft or multiple aircraft? How's that work?
Yeah, it just depends on how good you are. I have 4 aircraft, so I have 4 different pilots.
And you're in charge of maintenance and rebuilding the stuff, and you do it by the hour, by the minute, I guess. Like how many hours are on the jet on the jet engine?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
And were you taking them down and would you tear them apart and rebuild them, or how would that work?
I tell you what, I was the best jet engine mechanic in every single squadron that I've been at.
Wow. Confident.
I like it. Yeah,
I like
good.
that.
Talk to some other people.
Yeah. The only reason why is because I'm 5'6", and back then I was about 140 pounds, so I can fit into the fuel cell. So unless you can fit into a fuel cell and do fuel cell work, you wasn't the best.
And 13 and a half in the Navy, and now running for congressional, for Congress, by the way, congressional candidate, California 43rd district. Sorry, my whole thing with, I'd go full Trump and just go, what do you have to lose? I mean, come on, Maxine Waters since 1976. What year?
I want to correct that. She was 76. She was a state assembly state woman. 91 is when she was elected in a Congress.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What year did I do politically incorrect with her? It's a weird thing. It must have been the late 90s. God. Let me tell
2000.
people about your 2000.
Yeah.
Tell people about your website, joecollinsforcongress.com. That's joecollinsforcongress.com. Joe, come back on when we get closer to the election, and we'll talk to you a little more about your life in the congressional run.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Thank you, Joe Collins, for joining us. All right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back, and we'll do the news right after this.
Give me the news with Grad, news with Gina Grad, breaking viral, all those crazy Trump tweets. Give me news with Gina Grad, trouble in the Middle East, celebrity drunk meltdowns. Need news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
IMDb, Amy, one of my favorite docs, 7.8.
Take that.
IMDb.
Which doc?
Amy.
She hasn't suffered enough.
I know. All
Amy
right,
Winehouse doc.
yeah.
Well, I know
Good doc.
Brian's been through a lot, and I don't mean to make it worse, but we do have some updates on Newsgate. So,
don't do that. Don't
I
do that.
know.
Fake
I
news.
know. That was
Newsgate.
just for you. Newsgate. So Fox News reports, and we have a picture I'll show you, that NASCAR has released the first official image, because as you pointed out, we didn't have any pictures of this thing, of the garage door pull rope fashioned into a noose-style knot that was found in Bubba Wallace's garage at Talladega, and said that an internal investigation determined it was only present at the only one of the 29 tracks it visits. The discovery led to an FBI hate crime probe that determined it had been there since at least last October and was not directed at Wallace. Wallace, as you know, has been a vocal supporter of Black Lives Matter. He moved to have the Confederate flag taken down. Phelps, who was running this thing, said that the internal probe learned that the noose was not present at the beginning of October at the Cup Series weekend at Talladega, but was there at the end. However, he said there isn't enough evidence to determine who created it or why. The NASCAR investigation also looked at 1,684 garages. This was the only one that had this, and that is a noose.
Yeah,
whether they're doing it for a pulley or not, that's the shape can't be denied.
No, it's both things are true. It's a noose, but it wasn't for Bubba Wallace. I think that's the story.
It's just weird that they said that it was there, sometime between the end of October and now, and nobody else uses that. It's not like, oh, this is the best innovation on how to pull down a gate. Like, why? We don't know.
I just, first off, we never really factor in the who cares factor. Like, there's probably I work with enough construction guys to know, like, if you just leave them alone in the back of a pickup truck. Speaking of traveling in the back of a pickup truck, one time we picked up some laborers and drove them to the job, and they were in the back of the pickup truck. And later on that day, we came to find out that the guys had taken the handle for, like, my foreman's cooler, like the plastic handle on top of the cooler, and they just carved it all up. Like, they just notched it all up because they're just, like, sitting there. Like, they didn't have anything to do.
Idle hands.
Yeah, idle hands. And this is probably some bumpkin guy who's just standing around, waiting for the rain delay or something, and he's probably just screwing around. Maybe it was a Cub Scout or something. He knows how to tie a knot. And he just did it. Like, see, what I'm saying is, like, sometimes the answer is no answer. Just like some dude did it, you know, not with anything in his head other than I'm bored.
But when we have people like whoever's running Oakland and the guy going, it's me, I did it, it's a workout thing, going, no, we have to investigate, then this becomes something that ends up being looked at, needs to be looked at by comparison.
Talladega, Alabama, I guess is different than Oakland, California. Or
let me check into that.
But that's probably a factor. Like,
defend your point.
And it probably, I don't know. I don't know how stuff works. I really don't anymore. Just as long as it wasn't fashioned for him, I think we can breathe a sigh of relief. Then, of course, bizarre luck of the draw that the only garage let's look at it this way. During the middle of the biggest racial tensions we've had in this country since Rodney King, and bigger, more, just longer and more spread out. The one black driver out of the 30 groups gets assigned to the one bay that has the noose for the handle. Think about how cosmically fucked up that is. I mean, there's one black guy. I don't know, Max Pato, what are there, 32 cars, 28 cars, 41 cars? I mean, there's 40 cars, there's 40 bays, one black driver, one noose, and he gets into that bay.
The stars have to align.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in the middle of this. Think about that.
That's what I mean, all these factors. Yeah, the time and the place and the environment. Yep.
Right.
Well, we mentioned the other day, but just to give a few more details, the 3 suspects in the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery have been indicted. That's the father-son, Travis McMichael and Greg McMichael, and the other guy, William Roddy Bryan, formally charged with 9 counts related to Arbery's shooting death in February. The charges include malice murder, 4 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, false imprisonment, and criminal attempt to commit false imprisonment. The 3 were not arrested, and as you know, until the cell phone video became public, went totally viral. The defendant's attorneys say they thought Arbery matched the description of a suspect in a robbery in the neighborhood. Arbery's family say he was an avid runner, was out for a jog, but they've all been indicted, and many counts. And I wonder what. If you've talked to Garagos about this yet.
Not this one yet, but I'll put it on my list. I'll talk to him about it when I see him tomorrow. Talladega has 40 cars. 40 cars, 40 paddocks or garages, one black man, one noose. Boom.
Sounds like the trailer to a really bad movie.
I know.
40 paddocks.
Yep. There you go.
Although it does have that Occam's razor vibe of, you know, the simplest explanation has to be the right one. But maybe in this case, it was just horrible luck.
Yeah. There's also, I mean, what I'm trying to say to everyone all the time, whether it's Katy Perry's shoes or the noose hanging on the thing, not everything is an attempt at something. Sometimes people just do shit that looks like shit, or it's random, or it's dumb, or it's whatever, but it's not all targeted. You know, all right.
Well, you know, I hate, as much as Brian hates Gate and on steroids.
But it's also kind of thing where it's like a white cop can kill a black citizen and not be racist. It can just be a cop killing a black citizen, just as a black cop can kill a white citizen, or a white cop, as we've seen with many of Garagos's clients, can kill a white citizen. Like, it doesn't all have to be something. It can just be bad policing. Sorry.
Yep, true.
Go ahead.
Agreed. I can't stand people breaking their silence. I can't stand people speaking out, especially you can't break a silence that nobody asked for.
Wait. Yeah. What's worse? Unearthed on something that formerly aired on national TV, a breaking a silence that we don't care about.
Nobody asked for.
Or an open letter. I'm writing an open letter to my unborn son. Who could we hang with less?
Unearth is ridiculous because the things on Earth are widely available or were broadcast to millions of people.
I'm going to have to go.
It's not like a childhood, drawing or something.
Well, even though Open Letter gives it a run for its money, there's nothing more narcissistic than breaking a silence when nobody's waiting to hear you speak.
Well, who did this?
This is the exception. I do believe this is a silence being broken, and that's why it was so interesting. Camille Cosby, who's been laying low.
Break that silence.
Yeah. So this was my exception to the rule. She's given her first interview in 6 years. She's 76. She spoke to ABC News on Wednesday, the day after Pennsylvania Supreme Court agreed to review 2 aspects of Bill's sexual assault case. Camille says she's very pleased with the appeals court's decision. She suggested some things about the Me Too movement that I will play for you in a moment. So basically, and Cosby serving time 3 to 10 years after being found guilty drugging, sexually assaulting a woman in 2004. Here's a clip of Camille responding to the comparison between Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movement.
Your voice to speak out on behalf of Black Lives Matter. Are you concerned at all about the blowback from the Me Too movement and those who have been critical of you?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't care what they feel. The Me Too movement and movements like them have intentional ignorance pertaining to the history of particular white women who have, from the very beginning, accused black males of sexual assault without any proof whatsoever. No proof anywhere on the face of the earth.
And Tuesday's ruling.
Wow.
That's from Tammy Wynette, Stand By Your Man.
I know.
And it seems like, and I don't know anything about her. She says she talks to Bill every single day on the phone. That would be a line that I could imagine Cosby feeding her and saying, you know what, you should go on and say that the Me Too movement is racist and here's why.
Did the drop?
It's a weird relationship to be that dedicated to a guy who is that dedicated to others. I think it's pretty old school. It's not maybe, it's interesting when so if you're with a woman who's kind of a contemporary of yours, then you could see it. Obviously, Weinstein's wife did not go down this road at all, right? Because what happens is when you're an old fat fuck and you marry a hot 27-year-old, when you get indicted, she's 34. You know what I mean? Yeah. She's not old school. She's new school.
She's not pot committed.
She's not pot committed. And she hasn't been there since the beginning. So, be careful with the trophy wives, because a stern warning shall be issued from this podcaster, which is everyone wants to date the hot 22-year-old, but later on, when you're accused and Me Too'd, she's going to throw your fat ass under the bus. Whereas Camille Cosby, a woman who's a little more seasoned. She stands by you.
76.
76.
And she, let's see, I could be getting this wrong, but didn't they meet when she was like a pageant queen, like a young pageant queen?
That's not the Bill Cosby I know.
So yeah, she breaks her silence legitimately and stands by her man.
It's funny when he sponsored the Willie T. Ribbs indie effort, the car had no sponsorship on it. So it just had Willie T. It had Bill Cosby's name on it and Camille. It says you can see when you watch that footage, you can see Camille Cosby just on the side of the car. There was no Coca-Cola or Kodak or any of that, Tide or any of that stuff.
And we appreciate that. However,
yeah.
So I have a run of stories here about things that are being renamed, given some sort of a facelift, and I'll run through all of them for you. Adam, I don't know if Natalie Maines herself contacted you about this to give you a heads up.
Yeah.
But the Dixie Chicks are changing their name. They are now just the Chicks.
But I find Chicks problematic.
I was going to say.
Well, it's a little problematic.
They should have pivoted harder.
Yeah, I think they really like ducks. Yeah.
What should we go with? They? Yeah.
They. The band revealed the change with the branding for its new song, March, March. On June 17th, this writer, Jeremy Helliger, he penned an op-ed for Variety that questioned the trio's band name. Helliger noted the recent controversy surrounding Lady Antebellum, they're now Lady A, had netted basically a good amount of press for them. And he said the Dixie Chicks don't need to change their name to get that kind of publicity, but their silence has been deafening. This is a discussion we need to have, and they should be part of it.
Hey, can I say this?
Yeah.
First off, Lady Antebellum needs to be they, A, as previously stated. And another thing, could more people's silence be deafening? Because
that's another good one.
My
I'd like
issue
to be deafened
is
by more silences.
I have way too many douchebags talking. That's what I'm hearing right now. But I would love more deafening silence so I could fucking relax and enjoy my fucking life. So anyone listening, please be silent.
Me with silence.
Yes, please deafen me with your silence. Yeah, I don't. Does that? I mean, I get that cliche when it applies, but does everybody need to take a stand? I think we all know they're progressive, pretty woke, like good chicks who, they're down with all the good causes, right?
What else do we need to know about them? They were completely blackballed in this country by speaking out against the president.
Right.
They were canceled.
They were originally, the original cancel culture.
Good. They're on the right side of history. We don't need to be deafened by their silence.
And did you guys, do you know the origin of the Mason-Dixon line and whether that's a racial thing or not? Because I have a little info on it because I didn't know. Because, I'm from the Midwest.
I was about to say, is Dixie in and of itself offensive?
Well, I did just the tiniest dusting of research because, we in the Midwest are like, well, that's north of the Mason-Dixon line or whatever. So it's kind of both depending on where you look. So apparently it was between 1763 and 1767, Charles Mason and Jeremiah Dixon were basically involved in this resolution of a border dispute involving Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Delaware in colonial America. Okay, dry as a bone, boring, doesn't get any more boring than that. Mason-Dixon line. It later became informally known as the border between the free states and the slave states. So the answer is kind of both, in case you were wondering.
Okay.
Well,
Splash Mountain.
My feeling is things existed before us, and that's fine, and that's history, and I don't know. It's just history to me. It feels like history. I don't know the erasing of it. By the way, it doesn't get it to go away, like just because you tear it down or rename it or whatever. By the way, the renaming, I mean, they can't, when they try to name like Exposition Boulevard, Martin Luther King Boulevard or something, it never takes. It usually ends up, or freeway off ramp or something like that, or an airport or even a stadium. Man, it could take like 40 years to get people to get off of, I don't know how we're going to get off of, where are we trying to rename? Let's see, Columbus, Ohio. It's going to be hard.
Flavortown.
Yeah, it's good, but it's going to take a while for that shit to
Not
catch
for me.
on. Okay. But anyway,
Flavortown, Ohio.
What else?
No, you're right. So along the same vein, and things that we many of us have been wondering about, I think, for a year or two. Walt Disney did announce on Thursday they are in fact changing the classic Splash Mountain ride for a completely reimagined. They're saying amid the scrutiny of the ride's roots in the film Song of the South, which you cannot find anymore.
A listener sent it to me on DVD, and I watched it like a month ago.
Okay, only Brian can find it.
It's way more boring than you would think. Yeah. It's not a good movie. I mean, I didn't find it very offensive. I found it boring and
a lot of tropes that aren't
very trope. And of course, like it's set in this idyllic version. Well, they're telling this idyllic version of like the slave era, which maybe is problematic. But overall, it's just not a very good movie. It's boring.
It's not. I think we've all.
My problem with all this stuff is we're kind of learning from the statues is there is no good place to stop once you start going down that road. You know, it's just there's not a good stopping point. You go, we're going to take this statue down, and then you go, well, what about this guy? Well, he was on the right side. Yeah, but he then blah, blah, blah. And you go, okay, let's get that too.
No, that's true.
It just kind of just keeps going into team names and towns and streets
we'll get there.
and pancake mix boxes and syrup. And it's just like there is no good place to stop. And as you know, it doesn't stop. It just goes. Don't you guys miss a more innocent time when we would just sit around and try to figure out who was gay? Remember that was that was a big part of
BLB before Lance Bass.
Yeah, like when I was 25, it's like, I heard that dude's gay. That dude's Ricky Martin's not gay. That dude slays the ladies.
That guy's tons of chicks.
He's living the Vita Loca, dude. I don't know, man. I heard they had never seen him married. That's because he's getting laid too much, dude. I miss trying to figure out who was gay, right?
Simpler time.
Yeah.
Simpler time, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are giving it the reimagined look. It will now be dedicated to the 2009 film The Princess and the Frog. That's the first Disney animated movie to feature a black princess. According to Disney, the redesign has been in the works for over a year, though no concrete timeline for its construction and relaunch has been announced, but it will be changing. This is one. How many times in your life have you heard the national anthem? A million? Sure. Didn't know this. The Tulsa Athletic of the Semi-Pro National Premier Soccer League announced it will no longer play the national anthem at its games. Instead, it will play Woody Guthrie's "This Land Is Your Land." Why is that?
Oh, it Woody Guthrie's "This Land Is Your Land"? Or that song is a response to Irving Berlin's "God Bless America," right?
Don't know.
Oh, sure.
We'll look into it. Love that. Way worse.
Well,
so
back in the USSR, as a response to the Beach Boys, like surfing in the USA or something. Like, I mean it. Like that. That's their response.
I love back in the USSR. Yeah, it was like their Beach Boys song.
Well, you know what we need to do? Neil Young's "Southern Man" is the response. Neil Young's "Southern Man" is a response to Leonard Skinner's. Well, come on, Dawson. Leonard Skinner's "Sweet Home Alabama." No. I think
"Sweet Home Alabama" was a response to two Neil Young songs.
Other way around.
Neil Young's "Alabama" and "Southern Man."
Hey, wait a minute. Is the black man appropriating our culture of a diss track? You know what I mean? Isn't that us? I'm sorry, but young rappers, that was us. This is going back to the 70s and the 60s.
You know what you may not know about that is Neil Young and Ronnie Van Zant had tremendous respect for each other. Ronnie, they both loved the other's songs. Mm-hmm. Like Ronnie loved the song "Southern Man."
Right.
But for a very long time after "Sweet Home Alabama" came out, Neil could not tour the American South because he would just get hundreds and thousands of death threats.
That's interesting. So we got a Beach Boys diss track, or we got a Beatles diss track, I guess. And
that's more of a tribute.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, they are getting rid of the Star Spangled Banner, and it's because of the third verse of the Star Spangled Banner. Didn't know we had 3 verses. And here's what it says. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. Tulsa Athletic came to the decision that the song does not align with the club's core values. While this verse is rarely sung, Tulsa Athletic does not believe the Star Spangled Banner represents or unites their diverse players, fans, and community.
Oh,
did you know that existed?
Nobody knew. And another thing I'd like to do away with is fucking core values. Does everybody, you make travel mugs. Does your company need to have a core value? You know what I mean? Like, does every company have to announce its core value? I got a letter. I keep getting emails from Hydro, the guys who make my rowing machine, and they announce their core values to me all the time. Although they make athletic equipment. But okay, they have their core values. So I got the Black Lives Matter core value email from them, and then later I got the gay pride core value along with them, And today, I got a that a boy, and I'm starting to think like it's such an interesting subject that everyone needs their that a boys now. Like you need.
It says now this is just getting silly.
It's getting silly. Now I'll try to. Gina, you can try to read it. I can't really read it from here.
Unfortunately, it's
All
too
right,
fuzzy.
I'll read it. Let's see. 750,000 meters. Now, this is just getting silly. This is sent to me. You're unstoppable.
Whoa.
750,000 meters. Can you read the rest, Max Spada?
750,000 meters is almost unimaginable. But for people like you, it's anything but.
That's right. People like me, everybody.
Winners.
Who exercise for 25 minutes a day.
It's anything but, which is why you're able to achieve great things. And yes, this is truly a great accomplishment.
Oh.
You are among the few.
You got a new achievement day.
That's right. There you go.
It says hats off to you, but they crossed off hats and wrote socks off to you because you're getting a
boy.
pair of socks.
This must really soften the blow of the New York Times bestseller list.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike Lynch breathed a sigh of relief when I explained to him we didn't make the New York Times bestseller list, but do not fear. I've covered almost 1 million nautical miles on a stationary rowing machine. Yeah, it's a new world order. Like everyone needs the kudos for everything now.
Oh, yeah.
Always. Has core values replaced mission statement? Because you're not hearing a lot of mission statements anymore.
Yeah. You know what I miss?
Best practices, which I had really never heard before this year.
I miss a simpler time when everyone was just trying to accumulate Marlboro miles. Like
Camel bucks.
You smoke enough, you can get a kayak. That's basically what I learned. Yeah.
Who needs a kayak less than a heavy smoker?
I don't know. It's a weird math. Dawson, you ever get any Marlboro miles?
They were kind of big in college, and we always wanted to get the pool table or like the slick Marlboro windbreaker.
Right.
But you go through a point where you realize you're just collecting trash, and you don't feel good about yourself for smoking that many cigarettes.
Yeah.
And they all just disappear.
Get the gear.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
You should get the Stetson hat.
But they had some cool stuff.
I also like the sort of conceit of like, well, how else would you get a Stetson hat? I mean, what are you going to do? Walk into Nudies or some place that does outfitting and buy one? I don't think so.
Luck. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, you have to smoke 1,400 cartons of Marlboro Reds. I mean, how else would you get a windbreaker? Or a dart? Or how else would you get a dartboard? I mean, let's be honest. You want to go down to Costco and wait in line? Like, I kind of get the stuff that says Marlboro on it, but the stuff that is just like a dartboard or a cowboy hat, I feel like you could find one of those.
It's attainable.
It's obtainable. Right. That's right. Frying pan.
Awesome. Yeah. A log stacker.
I was going to say a log stacker, yeah.
I like
That's great. A bucket.
A bucket or a trough.
Is that a barbecue set? The red next to the pan?
There's it looks like a spatula and tongs. Like, again, Brian, good luck finding that.
Where would one find it? Where can I be expected to find that?
Well, you could
a flashlight.
You could scour the globe and come up snake eyes, or you could start collecting Marlboro bucks and get your set in like 7 months.
I could name at least 20 of my friends who all collected Marlboro miles, and not one who turned anything in to get anything.
Really? Because they all just died of emphysema before they could hammer it. Oh, you get a lantern, a sweater. I mean,
Is that a harmonica? The second from the bottom?
Yep, a blues harp.
Blues harp.
A blues harp.
Imagine what that thing would smell like when that guy was done.
What is that device? It looks like a breathalyzer, 2 down and 2 in from the left.
It's a
it does
trail
look like
rider's pouch.
Trail rider's pouch. Yeah. Everything.
Again, where could one be expected?
Had to have the theme. I used to love, everyone remembers the Marlboro Man, but the Camel Man, that dude was all over the place too. Not Joe Camel, but the Camel Man. He had
a Camel Man.
He had like a natural. He had like curly blonde hair. he was always like, he was in the middle of the desert, his Jeep broke down, and he'd just be standing there like smoking next to his broken down Jeep. Or he'd have his Jeep on a raft and be pushing it down, down the Nile or something. And he was all over those, like he was an adventure guy, and he was on billboards everywhere in the 80s, and he was the camel man, and he'd just be smoking. Like, I got my Jeep tire, it's flat, I'm going to walk it into town, and I'm going to smoke. And it was always kind of weird to me. Like, it didn't signal achievement. Your fucking Jeep broke down, and you have to walk in. You don't have a spare, and you have to like walk it into town. But he's going to smoke while he's doing it. He looked like Gordon Lightfoot, and he had like a I don't know what's off-putting about the blonde natural. There's something weird about the fro, like kind of the blonde fro. Weird to me. But that was the camel man.
Feels like a good time to recommend Thank You for Smoking, which depicts the real life Marble Man as played by Sam Elliott after he's broken down, dying of lung cancer, and they're offering a payoff to not talk shit about the company.
Such a great movie.
Streaming on Cinemax. Yeah.
Well, finally, in the name change department, we'll just round it out with this one. Renewed interest in a petition drive that seeks to have Minnesota's statue of Christopher Columbus replaced by another legend of Minnesota.
Jesse Ventura. Come on.
Come on.
The initial petition launched 2 years ago urges that, quote, rather than glorify a man who wanted to extinguish Black and Native peoples, we should honor members of our community whose leadership we find inspirational. Prince represents Minnesota values and Columbus does not. So far, more than 10,000 people have signed.
Wait,
all right.
Prince got out at the right time because that motherfucker would Me Too'd 5,000 times if he was alive.
Yeah, that's right. Let's put up a guy who wrote songs about coming and OD'd. That sounds awesome.
Darling Nikki's my favorite Prince song.
I hate all Prince songs. All right, but I recognize him as talented. Let's always make sure that we have the respect for the man's ability. It's just again where I'm at with all this stuff is you go, well, hey, old man Carolla, why are you against all this shit? And the reason I'm against all this shit is because I don't like power being taken away from people. And which is to say, if there's a statue or a plaque or the name of something and you think that somehow changing the name or taking down the statue is going to remedy whatever's going on in your life, that's dangerous, slippery slopes for me. I don't like that. I like everyone to feel, now not be empowered by this, that, or the other, but actually have that feeling of we're in a good country, things are fairly level, and I'm going to go out there and kick ass. Like, I want that. And obsessing over the statue coming down or changing the name of X, Y, and Z, I look at a complete waste of time and also satiates. And it's a little bit based on, or it's a little bit, as I tell you guys, my daughter's getting pumped about going out for the volleyball team, and I don't want to bore you with the story again, but when my daughter thought she wasn't making the team because the deck was stacked against her or her coach didn't like her, whatever that is, it was going to ruin her. It would have. It would have ruined her on that sport. She wouldn't have gotten out and competed. She feels insanely empowered by going out. I know I said I don't like that word, but by practicing and working out and being with the team. And if she had succumbed to that, coach hates me, it's not even worth trying.
Why bother?
Right. Now, the New York Times, what they're doing to me, that's a totally different situation. That's documented.
It's a frontal attack.
But the deal where we keep beating this drum of the reason you can't do this is because of that is a dangerous message to send to anybody in any community. And I hope we can back off it a little bit, because the reality is There's no such thing as all things being equal. There's no such thing. I mean, you take a look at Dr. Drew. His dad's a doctor. He came up different, better than most. Had better opportunities than most. Became a doctor himself, probably in large part because his dad was a doctor. Still had to work hard to do it, but at 18, he probably had an advantage over 99% of Americans. But over me, well, for sure over me, but I had an advantage of over 99% of Guatemalans living in Guatemala, or 99% of Americans who came 150 years before me, and so on and so forth. Like it'll just keep going and going and going. My thing is, it's 2020. The reason everyone wants to come to this country is because we've done a pretty good job. It'll never be perfect. With that in mind, go out and kick ass.
Speaking of Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla, one of the things I remember listening to Loveline as a teenager, you guys would say all the time, reality on reality's terms. You know what I mean? Like, yes, this road may be harder, or yes, this task may be more difficult, or whatever it is. Yes, that's the reality. Now you must deal with it on reality's terms.
Yeah, reality on reality's terms, and then you can go, but it's not right, or
it's not fair.
It's not fair, or it should change. I agree with all that. But here's my point. Whose life is it? It's your life. I mean, you don't want to sit on the sidelines and wait for things to change until you get back in the game. Just go out and compete. And I worry that a lot of the tearing down of this or changing the name of that or the Dixie Chicks or doing whatever, it's all window dressing. It's fine. It doesn't help. And if it feels like it's helping, it's not. Sorry.
It's kind of a now what situation, like, woohoo, we're celebrating, the statue's done. Right. Now what? Now what do we do?
Well, you just kind of move on to the next statue or the next thing. And then you blink your eyes and it's been 10 years of moving on to things and not just finding a mirror, focusing on what you can do. And I think there's a lot of examples of people in this country who come from other countries or other cultures, men, women, gay, straight, and everything in between, and have had a lot of success. So go ahead and look at their statue. Sorry, go ahead.
Well,
Gina.
I've not heard a story like this once since all of this started. So very interested in your thoughts. CBS News reports that an Oregon county has decided to make people of color exempt from its mandatory mask policy, citing the potential for racial profiling. The decision comes as multiple counties in Oregon have ramped up face covering requirements to slow the spread of coronavirus. Lincoln County's general directive requires everyone to wear a face covering in any indoor public setting or any outdoor setting where you can't social distance properly. But the county wrote on its website that, quote, people of color who have heightened concerns about racial profiling and harassment due to wearing face coverings in public are exempt from the rule.
Like they'll be thought of as a criminal?
Unclear. Other exemptions include children under 12.
Lincoln County is problematic to this podcaster. That's number one. Number two, I'd like, what's next? White people have to carry black people to and from their car. Like, okay, it's all good. Everyone's virtue signaled to outer space. But is this going to help? Like this notion of, hey, you don't have to do this. How's it going to work in a few years?
It can be seen as incredibly insidious depending on what your thoughts are about this virus, because those people could eventually be the ones that get very, very sick.
Yeah, or bring that virus back home to, God knows who.
Yeah.
There's also a thing of we're getting away from, which is the kind of, people say, I'm colorblind, and now that's kind of a hate crime because you have to recognize everyone's color and everyone's past and everyone's heritage. And that's another dangerous notion. This everyone needs to be recognized. The goal is for everyone to be treated the same and well. And the colorblind or the Martin Luther King, with he has a dream. That's the goal. That's the goal. This new world order where you have to recognize my whatever that is. That sounds good, except for we're going to break society off into that's gay and that's black and that's Hispanic and that's Asian and that's everything. And we're going to have a fucking society that has a bunch of groups, a bunch of tribes living inside of it, which is the opposite of what this country is. Other countries, Middle East, South Africa, Africa, the continent of Africa, they have a lot of tribes. It doesn't work that well. It's not good. The tribes don't end up getting along that well. They kill each other oftentimes. Yes, Brian?
I would also assume it's really presumptuous to assume that I would know, like, that one, let's just say one black person's history is the same as the others. I assume that everyone's an individual, has a very unique, new. I'm sure, of course, they share things in common, but you know what I mean. Like, if you're trying to know someone's history, wouldn't it make more sense? Like, it's insulting to not treat them as an individual who had individual, upbringing or experiences.
And it's also about values. If you think about a white person who's bald and about your age, and then the second you find out that they're a big UCLA fan and that they hate the band In Excess, and
who is this animal?
They don't much care for the top shelf whiskeys and alcohols, and they hate they hate sushi. It's like, okay, you're out.
You created this devil in a lab,
right now. But what I'm saying is the second you run into a black man or a black woman who says, I like USC and I like going out for sushi night with my wife and we love Maker's Mark or something, you go, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously that way politically. It's the people who share your values. It's about values. You share their values. The heritage stuff is way overrated. Yes.
No, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. So I assume that Alonzo Bowden and Dag had similar aspects to their upbringing and their lives. It'd be incredibly presumptuous to assume they had the same history.
Yes, like they had and it's this thing. Look, I grew up. We had one rich friend. His name was Tom. He was our black friend, and he had a very different upbringing than I had, and my other buddies did. And we never. I mean. Yes, to presume, it's that the presumption is a bit racist right there. So anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a category for everybody. We're going to create a category, and then you can get in that category, and then we're going to live in a nation with a whole bunch of categories that kind of bump up against each other. And already you can see groups. I saw a woman online today, and she was like, why does the gay flag have the black fist on it? That's our shit. The LGBT and the transgender community, stay away from our stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's us. You're appropriating, like, already. Of course, there's going to be trouble because the red-haired ladies want to make tacos on a truck. You know, of course this is never going to work out. All other nations that have groups, all they do is go at it. That's it. We already fought a civil war, right? So
Indeed.
I just like this country was sort of about everyone blending in and enjoying themselves and making hay while the sun shines. I'd like to get back to that.
Do you think we're in the middle of a cold civil war?
Yeah.
It's kind of what culture war is, right?
Yeah. And by the way, some of it is, not just culturally or emotional. Like, there's people spilling out in the streets and, putting their hands on people. Like, it's not what this country is about. And I always think it's a little racist and also kind of very short-sighted to think. I don't know about you guys, but I look at everybody exactly how they get me to look at them individually. Like, I don't have pre-existing notions. I have some pre-existing notions. As I've told you, The guy who does my dental surgery is a black man who likes to pump reggae music in to the surgical room. And when he first walked in, I was picturing an Indian guy, maybe an Asian guy, maybe a white guy. I had black guy lower on my list just because I had not experienced that. But the second he came in and was a good guy, an experienced surgeon, and he's done a few procedures, and he was very competent, then he is that guy. That's how I don't look at him as a black man. I look at him as a surgeon who I don't trust around my daughter.
It's fair. It's again, how he got you to look at it.
That's right. Look, you got to squeeze a joke in every once in a while, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to get back to that sort of meritocracy stuff myself. All right, one more, Gina Grad.
Sometimes jokes don't work.
All right. Well, I've been sitting on this one for a couple of days, and this is, again, a real public service announcement to the gentlemen out there. A COVID-19 outbreak has been confirmed at a strip club in Wisconsin.
No.
It is called Cruisin' Chubbies. The Cruisin' Chubbies Gentlemen's Club. The health department reports 2 or more COVID cases have been cited there. So an outbreak, as defined by the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, as 2 or more laboratory confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the same facility or associated with a single event. Everybody just be careful when you go to Cruisin' Chubbies in Wisconsin.
Is Cruise? Hey, buddy. Help yourself some cheese curds. Grab a paper plate and sort of get a semicircle around here. Big Ed, who used to be known as Big Nick, who's also Big Josh. I don't know why he changed his name. I think he had, I don't know, his IRS situation. You know, I digress. He, oh, by the way, we have a businessman lunch going on noon to 3 every day. Cruisin' Chubbies. Now, first off, we don't spell it cruise like cruising. We spell it more like, you know what, let me get back to it. Big Nick, Big Dave, or Big Ed. He changed his name a lot. Anyway, came down here. He got himself a hellacious lap dance. And I mean the kind of lap dance that you only find at Cruisin' Chubbies. Contracted, well, he got crabs. Well, let's not get sidetracked here. He got crabs. He got herpes. He got, I don't know what a polyp is, but anyway, he also contracted this Wuhan flu. I watch a lot of Fox. What do they call it? Kung flu. Kung flu. What did you say? What's that, Stevie? Oh yeah, he got the COVID-19 over there, and as you know, he's a big man, and I don't know. I'm not a surgeon, but evidently the ventilator. You know when you say you swallow something and went down the wrong pipe. Well, that's what happened to Duke. And Big Duke. Well, his name was Nick. Well, he started. We know him as Big Dave, but anyway, I don't know what it says on his license. Goddamn, when I used to work as a bouncer here, I used to check his license, so I've been here that long. Anyway, again, pull up some cheese curds and something that's pickled. Come on there, grab and eat. Oh, let me take a little business here. Jade, Stage 7. Stage 7. Now, remember, we got sneeze guards up there around there, so we ain't commingling with the juices up there. But he's gone. And we'll need to social distance unless you're getting a hand job, in which case, obviously, we're not going to be able to pull that one off, pardon the pun. All right, sorry.
It's my greatest contribution to the show.
I really love that goddamn thing. All right, let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
Oh, you got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
How do they spell cruise?
CRUISIN apostrophe. Cruisin' Chubbies.
Cruisin' Chubbies. All right. Last but not least, True Nigen. I've been taking this stuff for a while now. It's been about 5 months, and I feel great. Drew's been on it for, a couple of years now. It's for cellular health. True Nigen for strong cellular health. Look, you need it these days. You get older, our bodies experience a near 50% decline in NAD, which negatively affects our health and the cells in our body. Lifestyles are bad too, like stressors, like a lifestyle stressor, like intense exercise, lack of sleep, stress on the immune system, overeating, all deplete NAD because cells expend more energy to function. This is the real deal. It's backed by Nobel Prize winning scientists. It's clinical research all over the globe and has regulatory approval. Support cellular energy and defense. Visit True Niagen, TRUNIAGEN.com. Use the promo code Adam. Get $20 off a 3-month plus supply and get it now through June 30th. All right, let's see. You can go to adamcarolla.com. I'm going to be in Tempe, Arizona, coming up July 3rd and 4th. We're doing live podcasts there and stand-up there. So come on out and say hi, please. Joe Collins, you can check him out at, what'd I say, joecollins.com? I moved the stupid paper. And support him. And
it's joecollinsforcongress.com.
There you go. And get my book, and let's get Mike out of his funk. All right, so until next time, it's Adam Carolla for Joe Collins and Gina Grad and Bald Bryan saying mahalo.